Yeah, welcome everyone. I want to apologize for last time. It was the first time in my, I don't know, 15 years of teaching that I just couldn't do it anymore. So it was quite a new experience for me. And I just, with that, I realized that although I had a feeling before, or like a false confidence that I can teach out of every situation in any place, that there is a limitation if many things come together. So it was not only the temperature, but I was in Portugal at that time. For those of you who weren't there, it was like 40, 45 degrees or something. But also I was in a car by a petrol station because that was the only place I found where there was shadow. Then the internet connection was very unstable, so people couldn't hear me all the time. And in the morning, the flat of the brother of my friend in Portugal burned down. So I was the whole day I was involved in that. And so I didn't have any space to kind of contemplate before. And yeah, and then I started to guide a meditation that was still fine, but there was no resources inside of me or around me to say something meaningful. So I just stopped. What was nice for me, I didn't torture myself for that. So it was just like, okay, I just gave it up. And yeah, it could have been seen also as a moment of practicing self-kindness and self-compassion. Yeah, so that's maybe those of you who have attended that meeting could take out of it that there's also sometimes moments in life where you can gracefully give up. Yeah, just gracefully give up and not beating yourself up for that later. It's like the only option sometimes. So today we are going into the stanza I started last time. We are in the sixth perfection, and I just looked the number. It's 26, and tomorrow we go into 27. So we covered the parameter of generosity, and now is the parameter of ethical discipline, and tomorrow then the parameter of patience. And we will always, as always, we will start with the meditation. And before I start to guide the meditation, I would like to quote something from the commentary of Ken MacLeod. It's at the end of his commentary on the next parameter, the parameter of patience. And it kind of points to the essence of the way Ken MacLeod works with this text, what he is pointing to, like the essence of his commentary. So we have heard this before. So it's a question: what is that stillness, that space in which reactions arise and disappear? So according to Ken MacLeod, it is that self-inquiry in that which is aware, which makes the six perfections a perfection, the wisdom part. the inquiry in the nature of mind, the inquiry into emptiness. So what is that stillness, that space in which reactions arise and disappear? And that's the question I would like to bring into our meditation after some settling and invoking the refuge field, and establishing our intention, settling the mind in present moment awareness. That's the question I want to bring. Just some more to that from his commentary. When you look at it, you see nothing at all. Yeah? So when you look at it, you see nothing at all. It is a bit frightening, or it could be a bit frightening. It's not frightening for everyone, but it could be a bit frightening to look into that which is aware, because there's nothing there, but it's not a nihilistic nothing. It is like looking into the void of outer space. It is like looking into the void of outer space. This is the essence of a Tibetan tradition, actually. Yeah. Embodying the answer of that question. Shifting your sense of identity from the content, from that which comes and goes, to that which is aware. Something in you shrinks back. And again, that's not, it doesn't mean that it necessarily happens to you. But if it happens, so if there's a bit of a shrinking, a bit of, a bit of confusion, a bit of kind of confusion of who you are and where you begin and where you end. So it's that would be a good sign, a good symptom, that you start into the right, that you start to look in the right way, into the right direction. So this is the other level of patience. So the other level of patience, there is the patience, or in our case today, the ethical discipline, which is still in the context of an I, and in the context of activity and surroundings which really exist in the way they appear to us. So that's one level of practicing. But the other level, the level of practice which makes the practice of the six perfections a perfection, this is the other level of patience. Letting your reactions to that infinite nothingness come and go. Letting your reaction to that infinite nothingness come and go. And here, in our meditation, we are not only looking into our reactions, but we are actually looking at the whole content of our experience. Yeah, whatever you experience right now. So you have the stream of the five senses that's happening to you. And then you have the level of the conceptual mind, what your conceptual mind does with these sense data, including your feelings. So that's all the stuff which is happening to you right now. And in our meditation, I will invite you into a curiosity towards that which is aware. The space within which this moment is arising as it is and disappearing back into. What is that? Okay, so let's take our seats. in our virtual temple. Adjusting your posture. And as always in the posture, there is a tenderness, a gentleness, but also a dignity. So you really take your seat. Appreciating that we are taking our seat together, that we are not alone. Not together as a sangha. And then if you like, you can close your eyes. If you leave the eyes open, then your gaze is relaxed. And then checking in, meaning sliding with your attention from the head into the body. And checking the inner weather. And softening into what you bring into this moment. And your awareness and your breath, particularly the in-breaths, they are like a hug or an embrace. So important in the beginning of the meditation to welcome you as you are, to let yourself be. And to stabilize your mind in present moment awareness. With the energy in your body. And you notice that there's parts of your body which feel open and alive. And then there's parts of your body which are more tense, or there might be some discomfort or some numbness. And our awareness and our in-breaths, they make a gesture of welcoming. They say yes, as deep as it's possible. So you deepen your yes to reality, to what is in this moment. And then in the out breath, there might be the possibility of softening and opening, of letting go. So you shift from a thought-based way of living in the head. You shift from the mental chatter, from the inner dialogue, to being, to presence, present moment awareness. You might want to stabilize the mind with a certain aspect of your body, a certain part of your body, either a pleasant or an unpleasant experience. But the invitation is from there to go more into an open awareness, more a resting, rather a focusing or a concentration, or a resting in present moment awareness. And the radio station of the narrative self fades into the background. So you relax a bit the compulsive preoccupation with yourself as a narrative self. So you relax that. So you not even need to make words or stories about the sensations in your body, the somatic aspect of your emotions, how they feel in your body. You don't need to make labels or words. See if you can let them fade. Thoughts, of course, don't stop, but you gravitate towards a thought-free space where there is a spacious aliveness in your body. And only if you notice that you get entangled again into the inner dialogue, into the mental images, you drop back or you slide back into the trunk of your body or to your hands. And without tightening your mind and your body. So this is not a concentration exercise. But you slide back and you rest right there. Less and less doing and more being, just being. And then we call upon our mentors who fill our temple, our virtual temple, with their presence. The Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or whoever for you embodies kindness and care, gentleness, courage, wisdom. And the space within which you experience this moment fills up with a tenderness, with a gentleness, as if the eyes of His Holiness the Dalai Lama rest upon you. Feel the loving gaze all around you, also from behind. Imagine how it would be right now if whatever arises within you is arising within tenderness, within essence love. How would that be? But even if you can't really feel it, but how would it feel? If whatever arises, sensations, thoughts, feelings, if whatever arises would arise within love, within essence love, within unconditional love. Just pure love, just love. How would that be? And again, see if you can bring that from the conceptual ideas into the felt sense of your body. Surrendering. You don't need to do anything. It's more a trust into the goodness of our meeting, into the goodness of our temple, this healing space. Just be here with us. You don't need to do anything. With us here as a Sangha and with the lineage and with our teachers. There's nothing you need to figure out. Nothing in your experience needs to change. Just relax. And it could be that you feel a bit more spacious now. Maybe your resistance towards what is has softened a bit, a little. So maybe you experience a bit of openness. And then you rest. Let everything happen to you. And notice that whatever you experience, that you receive that. You receive the breath You receive the sounds around you. You receive my words. And you receive your thoughts. So again, you don't need to do anything. That receiving is effortless. It's like a mirror receiving faces, a mirror receiving the images in the mirror. It's completely relaxed, open, doesn't do anything. So see if you can perceive this moment in the same way. Sometimes in meditation we feel we have to do things. And that's a valid way to meditate. But here, I invite you into the practice of not meditating, but receiving, being meditated. You don't need to add to what is happening or take away or manipulate or interfere or control something. Meditating like the sky, receiving the clouds. The pleasant and the unpleasant and the neutral. No differentiation. With your whole body, from the toes to the top of your head. So meditating as receiving or as a kind of hearing, as a kind of listening with your whole body, with your heart, listening with your presence. And returning and resting. And then after some time, you might become aware of the spacious stillness. Ken MacLeod is pointing to a spacious stillness within which sounds, sensations, feelings, my words come and go like clouds in the sky or images in the mirror. So your awareness opens into all directions. And you allow your heart intuition open to the spacious knowingness. the spacious knowingness which you can't localize, which you can't see, but you can have a sense of it. You can't know it in the usual way, the way we usually know things. But nevertheless, there's a very undescribable possibility. Maybe intuition would be a word here to have a quiet, a wordless communication with the unspeakable. Heart communication beyond words, beyond time, beyond yourself, actually, as the narrative self. And then you rest. And your feelings, sensations, thoughts, sounds, they arise within that, like waves arise from the ocean and dissolve back into that. Like every wave dissolves back into the spaciousness of the ocean. So in the same way, thoughts, feelings, and sensations, they arise from the ocean of consciousness. And all my words are not sufficient. So my words are pointers. Trust your intuition. Trust your heart. Your heart knows already where its home is. And it could be that there's moments where you feel, I know this. I know this place, which is not really a place, but I know this. I have known this as a child in different situations in my life. Another possibility, as Ken MacLeod writes, is if you let go into that openness, that there is a bit of a shock or a bit of a shrinking. The narrative self trying to scramble together itself, trying to find a ground within the conceptual mind. And that's okay. That's also something which just comes and goes, within which that which is bigger than all of that. It contains all of that, so it's not separate, but it's more, it's bigger. So even if you just have a glimpse, just a slight sense of your true self, that's really precious. And I'm not sharing here something dramatic. So it's not a spiritual experience. It's very simple. And very subtle. It has nothing to do with feeling good. It's where feeling good and bad come and go. So relax the identification with what you believe you are, with your name, your gender, your body, your past, your future, your thoughts, your feelings. You relax your identification with the sense of I, because you notice that all of that are objects within awareness. Mental images of your body, or the sense of a core somewhere in your body, your gender, your feelings, they are all objects within. And you let it be. You let it come and go, like waves in the ocean. And then with your whole being, you listen to the unspeakable. Timeless, centerless, boundless. Like the sky, like the mirror itself. You can let go now. You're safe. No word, no thought, no practice can bring you home. It's already here. There's nothing to do. This is always the case. And then you slide out. If you have your eyes closed, you'll take your time to open it, but keeping the connection with spaciousness and the body, kind of integrating the visual field into meditative awareness. So not with the sense that now the meditation is finished, but that it just continues, and it is including not only the sounds and sensations and thoughts and feelings, but also the visual field. So ethical discipline sometimes when I go into this kind of meditation, it's a bit difficult for me to kind of scramble back into the conceptual mind and get back into the concepts. They kind of it's interesting. Yeah, maybe I can just look at the stanza at the first, and probably something comes. If you cannot look after yourself because you have no ethical discipline, then your intention to take care of others is simply a joke. It's a beautiful. I really like to read this, because it's really emphasizing that the foundation of our practice is to learn to look after ourselves. Yeah. And are you doing that? Yeah. And where is there room for growth? Looking after yourself. And looking after yourself needs to be based on a sense of self-dignity, a sense of I'm worth it to be looked after. I'm precious. I'm unique. And I have a gift to give into the world. Something wants to work through me. And I need to prioritize looking after myself. And one of the important ways to look after ourselves is ethical discipline. And I guess some of you have received teachings on ethical disciplines, or Ken McLeod has a kind of a different approach to ethical discipline than you might get into a kind of average Galuk teaching. And that doesn't mean that these teachings that they don't have value, they have. But so if what we're going to explore today and tomorrow is a bit different, it might call for some, it might trigger some discussions within you and some struggles. But that's very good. There's different ways to categorize the different kinds of ethical discipline. I just want to simplify that into the ethical discipline of restraining from harming, and the ethical discipline of doing good. And how do we look after ourselves through learning to restrain? And how do we look after ourselves by doing good? One thing to keep in mind is that the ethical guidelines we receive in the teachings, like not killing, not stealing, and so on, that they are descriptions of how an awakened person acts in the world. So they are meant to be guidelines. We start to adjust our inner compass towards that kind of living. In the same time, we accept that it is impossible to do for us. So this kind of descriptions of the goal, of the vision, of the north, which we want to bring our inner compass aligned with, they can be helpful. We can be inspired by them, and we have a direction, but they can become also a huge problem if we believe we're supposed to live like this already. Then guidelines become just another way, because we will, when we are honest, we will notice we fail. We can't live up to not killing. It's impossible. It's impossible, even if you are like the super vegan and always considerate and you really respect life. It's impossible for us to live a life of not killing, of not harming. So that sometimes creates problems for people who take maybe not only the 5 lay vows, but also the Bodhisattva vows. That they feel that the vows are the practice, but they are not the practice. They are the description of the goal. So we need to explore what is actually the practice. So once we are inspired to take not harming and helping where possible, once we take that as our North Star, the direction we want to develop into, which would be a life of not killing, of not lying, of using your sexual energy in a constructive way, and so on. But what kind of practice supports us on the path towards that? And you really need to be aware when taking vows, being inspired by these guidelines becomes actually something which increases your sense of I'm not good enough, increases your struggle, increases your inner tension. If we would be able to embody the vows, we would not need to take them. They would be useless. I mean, I just share some kind of a bit of a random reflections here, and then I will leave some time for questions. I had a conversation with my sister yesterday, and she is a leader of a home for girls from dysfunctional families. And as I always do, when a certain teaching comes up, I bring it up with people. You know, I ask them how do you work with this? What does ethical discipline mean for you? And she says that her experience is that there are girls coming to their place, which are so traumatized from growing up in dysfunctional families that they don't have an inner compass of what is harmful and what is constructive to do in a situation, or what is deconstructive. They don't feel it. And I like this word inner compass. So when she mentioned inner compass, what I was thinking of was the wisdom of the five wisdoms of our Buddha nature, which are described in the teachings of the 5 Buddha families. So what we learn there is that innate and undistractable within us, there is an inner compass which knows what is constructive to do in every situation and what is destructive. And then she said, these girls, they need rules initially. You need to tell them because they can't feel with their heart. So trauma disconnected them from that compass, from their goodness. And trauma disconnects from the environment. And trauma leads to a preoccupation with your own needs. Nobody else thought about you in your environment. Nobody held you. So you had to take care of yourself. There is no space in looking and being empathic to the needs of others. So I think that could be, one of the reasons of these guidelines for immature people, for confused people who need to hear, don't kill, don't harm others. But then she said, the problem with that is, if these rules, if these guidelines become too inflexible and you are not allowed anymore to question them and work them, and they are not being adapted to changing in the context. Yeah. So we all know some actions which are in a certain context harmful In another context, they are actually the most kind thing to do. So often when we receive the teachings on ethical discipline, it's actually teachings for traumatized children. And they are sometimes given to us as if they are ultimate truth, as if they always are, in each context, in each situation, the way we should act, which is not the case. So her inspiration is, or what she wants to help these girls to find, is this inner compass. And you can really say that that's also what the teachings, our practice wants to help us to uncover the inner guru, the inner wisdom. So practice, what kind of practice? I mentioned restraining, learning to restrain, learning to finding wholesome ways to be with impulses. And these impulses, harmful impulses, they always arise from our basic confusion. They arise from the dualistic distortion of reality. So the true medicine here would be our realization of emptiness. That would undermine, dissolve that confusion, would dissolve ignorance. And our natural goodness would shine and would be embodied through us. But in the meantime, while we are getting there, there's so many practices, different kinds of practices, which support us to start to see and to start to experience that when urges arises within us, urges to harm someone, urges to harm ourselves, that we can learn to neither suppress these urges nor express them, which is what you learn in mindfulness practice. And I would like to share with you a few questions you could ask yourself in the sense of kind of a self-inquiry, which you can ask yourself when you feel a strong urge to harm someone, to say something angry. So the first question, and if you write things down, maybe you could write down these questions. They are really, I found them very helpful. The first question is, what about this I am resisting? What about this experience do I resist? What about this is what I'm resisting? So these questions, they are not so much a question inviting us into a conceptual reflection. They are questions which are meant to be asked into the felt sense of that contraction. What is it what I'm resisting? Why another angle of this question is, what is that which I don't want to feel? What is that which I don't want to feel? Let's say you're criticized, or let's say you are excluded. You're excluded from a group because someone spread rumors about you. So the practice here is to drop into your body, to feel where you feel the contraction, the hurt. And then ask, what is it what I'm resisting here? What is it what I don't want to feel? Now, harmful behavior, harmful actions is often an attempt, a coping strategy, not to feel what is underneath. And if you address that which is underneath, helplessness, sadness, fear, then you relax, then you relax the urge of addiction, the urge of aggression. And here aggression, not in a positive sense. So there's a kind of healthy aggression, a healthy response, a healthy, firm response to a situation which protects you and others. So that's not what we want to let go of, obviously. What we want to let go of is harming others, intentionally harming others. So sexual misconduct, using your sexual energy to manipulate, to seduce, to get what you want. So again, where is that urge in your body? Where do you feel it? And what is it what you don't want to feel? If you have an inappropriate affair, for example, what is it what you don't want to feel? What is underneath? So then the next question is, can I let go? Can I relax that resisting? Can I relax that? So not like saying you should relax, but just, can I? Could I? could I let go? Could I let go of resisting? So maybe there's some questions or comments about what I said, but also maybe of what I've not said. Yeah? Or something you would like to bring up in the context of self-discipline, restraining from harmful actions of body, speech, and mind. So what in the approach of Ken MacLeod, what would make this mindfulness practice I just described, what would make that a practice of the six perfections is then this inquiry we did in our meditation. So shifting your curiosity away from the content, from the contraction, to who or what is aware of this. So every trigger in your life, whenever you're triggered, becomes actually a trigger into awakening. A moment of recognition of your true nature. And it's obvious that often when we are really triggered and that our first step is to create a space where that question actually makes sense, or so there's some space for actually making that shift into self-inquiry into your true nature. When your reactivity fills out the whole space of your awareness, then it's very difficult. So we have provisional methods of calming down the turmoil. Yes, Teresa.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. This chapter and the way Ken MacLeod writes about it and the questions he asks have been really thought-provoking for me, because it's been an angle of looking at ethical discipline that I never contemplated before.
Mm.
And I've read these 2 pages so many times. And it's, you know, the clarity, it feels like I'm slowly starting to understand his approach, the way, like the angle he's taking at it. So I just want to maybe put out a couple of the lines that really stick out to me, and maybe you could offer your commentary.
Yes.
Awesome. So the one line that really sticks out to me is, this is not the practice of ethics as a way to improve your life. This is the practice of ethics as life itself.
Mm.
And then at the very end, the reflection, continuing of that, the ethical discipline you bring to your life is the expression of your connection with life. So it seems like the way he's talking about it to me is, it's very, it's not, we don't have ethical discipline to be better people necessarily.
Mm.
It's more ethics are our natural enlightened potential, just flourish. It's what's naturally comes through. So that's what it seems like to me, that the way he's talking about it.
Yes, and it refers very specific also to the root text, where it says, observe ethical behavior without concern for conventional life. Yeah. So and it is, if you have received more traditional teachings, it seems that we are encouraged to that kind of practice. So often when we hear about ethical discipline, it's about accumulating more merit. Yeah. So we are refraining from harmful behavior to prepare a better future. So it's kind of first scope lam rim kind of practice. Yeah. We are doing good, not because it's good to do good, and it's good in the moment. It feels good in the moment. It's healing for yourself and your environment in the moment, and it's just the natural. It's actually the natural way, the unconfused way to relate to this movement is to do good. If you don't do good in this moment, then you are not aligned with life. You are aligned with fantasy, particularly the fantasy that there is someone here which needs to be liberated in the future, and there is something out there which needs to be better than it is. And that's confused practice. It's like, that's this kind of practice my sister described with these traumatized girls. They have lost their compass, that compass of doing good. What we then start to find out slowly is doing good is the best we can do. Doing good is really good for ourselves, and hear ourselves, and we feel it. I mean, we feel it. We feel the health, the health in doing good. So this yeah, and I guess we all have. I mean, I don't know you all, but I always struggled with this kind of doing good, because we are rewarded in the future through the merit pool. It's like, the Chinese kind of practice of generosity. Yeah. it's being generous because there is a reward in the end. One thing I think one can contemplate also, or take into account when we talk about ethical disciplines, that the rules which are transmitted in the different traditions, they are also influenced and shaped by people, mainly men, who want to keep the power hierarchy. Who want to protect their tradition. I mean, isn't it a strange thing that the best donation you can give is to the monastery and monks? Who made that rule? So the guidelines within a tradition, they arose in a certain time. Also, like if you look into the sexual misconduct, where it's very obvious that these rules, which some traditional teachers still teach us as the truth, yeah, as a kind of guidelines which are ultimately carved in stone, taken out of the time, of the context, of the language, of maybe when they arose, there was some maybe they arose from compassion. Maybe they just arose from power hunger. Yeah, you never know. But let's say since usually Buddhist teachings are not about suppressing others. So I guess we can have some faith that most of the teachings and guidelines and vows arose from good intention, from good hearts. Like my sister, when she does some strange rules for their home, she really, it comes from a good heart. But then, strangely enough, we as Buddhists, we all should know that everything is impermanent. Everything exists contextual. Everything is changing, and everything is constructed. It's just made up. The only teachings of the Buddha who are definite are the teachings on emptiness. Everything else is provisional and needs interpretation and needs contextualization. So, and if we take these rules as the guidelines we receive in the different levels of vows, if we take them too literal, we get into trouble. We might even act, by keeping a vow, we might even act in a harmful way. I mean, a famous example of that would be the vow of a Theravada monk not touching a woman. So that would mean also not helping in a situation where the only way to save another being is to touch the being, to pull her out of a river. So that can't be that can't be right. That as a Buddhist practitioner, you have a vow in a situation like this not to help. But some people would practice like that. Yeah, so that was a bit of it was I lost your point, Teresa. So, but it was an important thing to say. But I get yes. So that what the quote you gave is connected with that practicing ethical discipline without concern for the conventional life. Yeah. Not looking for rewards. That's also, in a confused way of practicing not harming or doing good, is being concerned about your reputation. That's also part of that. It's more important that other people see how good you are. Was there something else, Teresa?
No, that's all. Thank you. I want to leave space if anyone else wants to share anything.
Yeah, is that something? It's yes, Mikkel.
Hi, Stephan. Good to see you. Thanks for a wonderful practice.
Mm.
I just thought about maybe a slight nuance in the language of some of the things that we talked about. Because I heard you say that maybe some people who've been growing up in a dysfunctional family have lost their inner compass. I'm one of those. And I know a lot of people who have kind of the same background, but it seems to me that there is a kind of connection between this traumatic background you describe and then also the description of Buddha nature in the Buddhist literature. Which is that I found over time that one of the reasons why I felt so bad about some of the things that I experienced, and I mean, I wasn't violated physically and things like that, but it was still enough, taking many years to process. But the point is that I found at some point that the reason why I felt so bad was actually because there wasn't in the compass that told me underneath some of the stuff that I felt that there was something wrong about the way things work. There was something that I was taught that was not working in the world. And so I was just thinking that maybe it would be kinder to say that if you have that kind of background, you might have a compass that is skewed by other compasses on top of it. Like we talk about the stains of the nature. Because I think it's very important to say or to demonstrate to people with that kind of background, which certainly helped me, that there isn't a compass, that there is a path through this. There is a note deep inside that knows that this is dysfunctional. This is why I feel the pain. And when I contact with that pain and really hold it in a loving space, it releases and actually shows me what I like, what I needed, what I didn't get. And then, I mean, these processes are really helpful for me as well, because it becomes part of this kind of repairing thing of yourself, where you kind of say, you're not the bad person you were told you were. You're allowed to have your feelings. You're allowed to talk, even though you were told not to. And in doing that, it feels like there is, for me at least, there is this sense of coming back to someone. A part of me always knew that I were, which is a kind, loving person, and I can be that, and it's okay to be that, no matter what anybody else told me. It's been a process, but I just think it's really, it's like the saying here, in the text, I really like, about taking care of yourself first, like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, the plane, because I think it's also important, maybe in terms of how we help people, to say, I don't need to go out and fix people. They actually have the resources inside them. What I can do is try to take care of me, and then try to describe, share the path I've taken to get the steps I have accomplished, whatever much that is, and show that to other people by my own experience. And then they can take what they want instead of trying to fix them. I can't become depressed enough to depress people, but if I can deal with my own depression, maybe I'll inspire other people who are depressed to see, okay, there is actually a path because he did it,
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. Yeah. yeah, just one thing I want to say is what in your description, what is for me so precious is how you found, or you describe a process of finding the inner compass in the pain. Like, so the pain becomes the door to Buddha nature, to the goodness. Yeah? And that's something we might not trust first. Yeah, so we would usually we would feel that a trauma, a pain, a wound in us is something we just want to get rid of, instead of and finding solution to it from outside, instead turning to the pain and trusting the wisdom of the pain and using that as a bridge or a door into the goodness behind. Yes.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah. Yes.
No, because it just made me think, and I thank you for your answer to that, and for seeing and hearing what I said. I was just thinking that, it seems to me that, before, when I was very stuck in my brain and I had these coping mechanisms also, for not dealing with that pain, I wanted to do good, and I understood ethics in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have this sense now that it's become more of a built-in sensation feeling, because it took me 10 years to go through this stuff and process my family and my background, and why I couldn't make a success in the outer world, because I carried all that baggage and stuff. And I just realized, that it actually helped me build forgiveness and compassion, because when I started to encounter that pain, it felt excruciatingly painful that I had suicidal thoughts at some point. I never acted on it, but it's like the brain, at some point when you feel enough pain, the brain just says, stop, get me out of here. So I registered it. But the thing was, it made me see that if it is so hard and difficult for me to contain and sit in a space with that pain, because it feels that way, because the brain and the biology react so strongly to it, the other people out there probably feel the same, and that's why they don't work on their problems, why they don't come they don't act better, because it's so painful to move into that space and change that.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to say, for me, it seems like there was this kind of, over time, with a lot of forgiveness work, but this kind of natural compassion came out of it, saying, they're just suffering and they don't know how to deal with it. If they knew a way, they can't see that way right now.
Yes.
And then just like, damn, they're suffering too, they're just human like me.
Yeah.
How can I blame them for that, almost no matter what they say to me?
Yes. Yeah, that is a good example of how our own journey increases our capacity to have compassion for others, our understanding for others. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still triggered sometimes. That's not it, but it's a
I
lot
know. Me too. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's wonderful that you mentioned a period of 10 years. Yeah. So so that's like that's the scope of that kind of healing process. It's not something which happens overnight. And just to pick up on something you said, and that's something I wanted to share also today, is to see the difference of the kind of guidelines and rules in the head. Yeah, you said like, yeah, we can learn it's not good to kill. Yeah, but it's a completely difference to bring that into the inner compass. Yeah, and acting from there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we dedicate the positive energy of our meeting to everyone, in particular to peace in the world. And maybe you have particular wishes on your heart also for specific people. Yeah, may all beings be happy. And thank you so much for your attention. We will continue tomorrow with patience, and I might pick up some of the points I didn't say today and bring them up tomorrow again. So let's see. So I'm looking forward to